I want to address two topics in this segment, each briefly. I visited them in the first hour. I want to revisit them now. I just had a conversation with Matt Krause of Liberty Counsel. You heard that. And I want to argue that in that Fort Worth case, we have another instance of a pro-homosexual bigot committing a hate crime. I've got a column up. You can find it on the Facebook page, the Focal Point Facebook page. You can also go to rightlyconcerned.com. It's there under my blog row. And the title of the piece is Pro-Homosexual Bigots Commit Hate Crimes. This is part 10. So this is the 10th example since I started writing this series, Catching Pro-Homosexual Bigots Committing Hate Crimes. This is the 10th example that has come across my desk, and it has to do with the suspension of this honor student. Now, here is from uslegal.com. Here is their definition of a hate crime. And remember, I read you the description of the harassment policy from the Fort Worth Independent School District, making it clear that this teacher is in violation. This teacher is guilty of harassment against one of his own students, and we think that this teacher ought to be appropriately disciplined for violating the school district's own policy about harassment. But here is how uslegal.com defines a hate crime, and I'm going to leave out the extraneous parts. A hate crime involves harassment which is motivated by prejudice against someone's religion. Harassment motivated by prejudice against someone's religion. This is exactly what happened here. This student, Dakota, 14-year-old student, let's see if I can grab his last name, Dakota Airy, said, "I'm a Christian and I think homosexuality is wrong." He said that in a private exchange with another student. Wasn't even part of classroom discussion. He wasn't the one that brought up the subject of homosexuality in the class. He simply offered his own opinion based on his views as a Christian that homosexuality is wrong. And for that, the teacher began yelling at him and suspended him from class. Here's a legal definition of harassment, which can be a part of a hate crime. Harassment is unwanted, unwelcomed, and uninvited behavior that demeans, threatens, or offends the victim and results in a hostile environment for the victim. Now, Dakota's been sent back to this class. You think that's a friendly environment? That is a hostile environment created by the teacher and created because of Dakota's religious viewpoint on homosexuality. This is a hate crime in process. So here's a pro-homosexual bigot committing a hate crime against a 14-year-old student. Now, you know what this illustrates is that truth is now a hate crime in the twisted world of secular fundamentalists. You tell the truth about homosexuality, you've just committed a hate crime. You tell the truth about Islam, you are an Islamophobe. You've just committed a hate crime against Islam. Now, the article, this is a Fox News article, said this student was sentenced, that's the reporter's word, not mine, to this in-school suspension. So, you know, I've made the point, and I'll make it again. My claim is that the chief perpetrators of hate crimes in our culture today are homosexual activists. There's plenty of hate in the debate over homosexuality, but it's coming from gay activists who are directing their venom against people of sincere Christian faith. Now, this is what the student's mom said. "My son knows people that are homosexual." He's not saying, "I don't like you." He's saying, "I'm a Christian, and I believe that being that way is wrong." Now, you talk about the opposite of a hate crime. He's just expressing his opinion, sincerely held religious belief, and she's instructed her son when he goes back into the classroom that he is to treat this teacher with respect because he is your elder and he is your teacher. Does that sound remotely like a hate monger to you? The hater in this circumstance is the teacher who yells at this student, gets him suspended from class for simply expressing a sincerely held religious belief. And then you got to ask the question, what in the world is a German teacher doing talking about homosexuality in his classroom in the first place? Apparently the tenuous link was that the teacher brought up the subject of homosexuality in Germany. And this brings up what I mentioned to Matt Krause. Does this teacher tell his students, this German teacher tell his students in German class that Adolf Hitler was a homosexual? that he developed a police record as a homosexual prostitute on the streets of Vienna? Does this German teacher, when the subject of homosexuality in Germany comes up, does he tell his students that the Nazi Party started in a homosexual bar in Munich? Does this teacher tell his students that virtually all of the Brown Shirts, the stormtroopers who were Hitler's thugs and enforcers, that virtually all of them were homosexuals? Does he tell his students that students in German schools today are taught these things because they never want a repeat of the Nazi horror? And that's why I say this illustrates a point that I've often made, that we have to come to grips with the simple truth that we're going to have to choose between the homosexual agenda and freedom, because we cannot have both. There is no room in the homosexual lobby for freedom of religion, conscience, speech, press, or even association. We got to choose between homosexuality and liberty. Let's be sure we make the right choice. Got another story in the stack about Vanderbilt, I think it is going to throw every Christian group off campus that expects the officers in their Christian clubs to believe in a biblical view of sexuality. This is Vanderbilt University. You're going to kick 5. You talk about a threat to the freedom of association. They're getting kicked off campus because they believe what the Bible teaches about sexuality.